Now this one here, I really need you to pay attention to, and I need your input on this. Okay, this is Senate or Assembly Bill or VDR 169. Increased penalties for violations in the work zone. Over the last few years, there's been a number of deaths of people getting killed within construction work zones. So I've been asked by the construction industry to put a bill out there that would increase penalties for that. What they're looking at is increasing the double the penalty, traffic zones, work zone to a felony instead of just double fines. They want to turn that to a felony rather than the current misdemeanor penalty. Define the work zone or temporary traffic control work zone by Nevada statute. In fairness to the public, it has to be defined. What is the work zone? Where is that work zone at? Versus just like if you've been going to the Las Vegas lately, they've got a 55 for the full length, and it's that's ridiculous that they can't define the whole thing.
And not a single soul.
So, I want to be able to address that. But going for okay, basically add unlawful for a person to drive in a vehicle willfully and wanton disregard to traffic control zones or construction zones. Also, if somebody gets killed in there, that becomes a felony and possible major jail time, much like drinking and driving. So, any input on that and how you feel about that? Go ahead.
If someone gets killed in there, it is a felony without any more discussion. Making it a felony, we're talking about speeding?
Speeding through the work zone.
I disagree with that. Felony's fairly serious and can alter people's futures forever. Speeding doesn't rise to felony unless it was you know, excessive 100 miles an hour or whatever, and that is a felony anyway. So, no.
It's not the class of felony that we're describing here. You know, let me ask this question: you worked in construction zones before?
No, but I worked in law enforcement.
Okay. I worked in those zones, and it's a difficult thing. I have to think about it because sometimes I get a little out of control, but somehow we need to eliminate or reduce the amount of deaths. I don't know how many it's been, but it's been a number of deaths just in the last 3 years within construction work zones. So, any more comment? It's a difficult. Go ahead. All day.
Yeah. The one thing I have to say is it needs to be more like a school zone when workers are present, as you state, because I think a lot of cases people speed through these zones because nobody's working. I mean, so it's ignored. So it's kind of like the warning when you look at the warning. So I think if you put some language in there when actual construction is taking place, then I think it would be good to protect the people. But just generally, a work zone that's marked and nobody works for weeks at it is really a bad precedent.
I think that's a road too far.
Okay.
Felony is just too harsh.
There's some signs in a couple states back east that say if you hit a worker, that you will be convicted of manslaughter. So, and those signs absolutely get people's attention. And they raise that awareness to that level, that it is a felony if you hit somebody, and those signs certainly make you think twice about what speeding in those areas could really result in. But just speeding in that, just speeding be a felony.
Great idea. I'm going to leave my card at the end here, and if anybody has any ideas about this, because I think this is going to be a hot topic. I told them I'd pack it, but I want to see if there's opposition to it. We need to make sure that I hear from you, and if there's any good ideas to add to it.
So if someone dies, it's clearly as a felony. If they're hit, is that right now recognized as a felony? It's not, correct?
No, it's.
Okay, yeah, I'm with this gentleman here. I think about a felony, and I think about how easily that can ruin your life. No longer be able to have firearms even in your home. And there's so many things that become taken away from you by having a felony. But I understand the importance of drawing our attention to it. So
I guess just to be argumentative a little bit, how many people do you know that drank the first time and lost their lives, or or actually killed somebody. It's quite often, and so those are the considerations. Rick?
Does, like, your example, the 30 miles or whatever it is, of the 15 that's been set at 15 miles or 55 miles an hour, and you drive and drive and drive, nobody's there. Would it be restricted to the, I mean, how would that be enforced if they have those signs up and no one's working?
In my discussions, when they asked me to carry this, that was exactly some of the issues I have. I think it's unfair to the public that the contractor has a responsibility to maintain proper traffic, use TCD standards when they do that. So I think there has to be some issues that can come back also. So I do agree with that. This is going to be a difficult one to put together, but it's just in that draft request stage right now.
President, how many levels of felony are there? And is there any way, like when you're trying to educate the public, that we can differentiate between what we're really talking about?
I think there's all the way to Class F, but can you tell me that back there, officer?
I think it was 5.
5?
ABCD, yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else on that? Please get involved with that one, and don't be afraid to send me. I'll leave my cards here with you. I want people to get involved and discuss this one, so.
Is there any distinction between hitting a person who is in fact a worker or just happens to be somebody else that's on the road?
I would think there would be a distinction, but most of the time those people are not supposed to be in that construction zone. They're supposed to be delineated where their walk zone is.